Hi guys, today I'm back and doing another one brand full face makeup look. I've really been enjoying this style of video because it encourages me to look back on some products that I've really loved, but also just tell you about some absolute staples from a particular brand. And if you saw the title of this video, you can probably guess what mascara primer and mascara combination I'm going to be using today, but I am really excited that this video is sponsored by and in partnership with L'Oreal Paris. If you remember, about a month ago now, I believe it was, I reviewed the Infallible 24-hour Fresh Wear Foundation and absolutely loved it, so we're going to be chatting all about it again today, showing you it in this full face look that is super long wearing, and I will actually be doing a check-in at the end of the day so you can actually see it for yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. So of course we're going to be starting out with the foundation. It does come in 30 different shades, which is amazing. You should absolutely be able to find a shade that works for you. Yeah, of course, as I mentioned in my review of this, we are getting a full fluid ounce in here and a pump. Bing! Always appreciate a pump on a foundation just because it's less messy. You get more control over the amount of product that comes out of it. In this foundation, I am wearing the shade 485, which is Golden Sun. It does, of course, have a golden undertone. If you are a similar skin tone to me and you are maybe a little bit more neutral, you may want to reach for 495. That is in the shade Amber. So as you'll see in my face swatches, I could technically get away with either of these foundations, I think, but 495 is a little bit more neutral, and I'm kind of somewhere neutrally golden. I've finally settled on after years and years of trying to figure out what the right foundation shades are for me. So I tend to like 485 just because it is a little bit more golden, but if you tend to enjoy a more neutral foundation and you're my skin tone, 495 may be a better option for you. But of course, like I said, there are 30 shades in the range. So I really appreciate having similar shades with different undertones because sometimes you can find the right shade and it's not the right undertone. Anyways, I won't get into that. So the formula on this is a really nice thin formula, but it's still buildable and you can still build up lots of coverage. So that makes it kind of more customizable, which I enjoy because at the moment I've been liking a more medium coverage foundation. So that's why I went in with a damp sponge. If you want something more full coverage, you can use a denser brush. Of course, you can build up actually more product on your face as well, but it doesn't take much to build this up. And I always advise using less product over more just because it'll give you a more natural finish on the skin. And it does have a really nice natural matte finish. As you'll see when I applied, my face isn't shiny, but it's also not completely flat, which I appreciate because although I do have combo to oily skin, this is nice and long lasting on my face, but it doesn't look super flat and matte and cakey, which I absolutely appreciate, especially moving into the summer months. As you'll see in my before and after, I still let my freckles show through. Like I said, I did want to give it more of a medium coverage today. That was the look I was going for. And as you'll see in the close-up, I think it looks really nice and natural on the skin. As I always say, and I think I said it in this review, but it's like, of course I'm wearing makeup, but it's not like completely obvious, and it does have that really nice, natural, buildable look on the skin. So I will, of course, check back with you at the end of the day for the foundation, but let's go ahead and move into the rest of the makeup. Moving into concealer, I'm quite picky when it comes to my concealer, so I gotta say I was super impressed when I tried out this concealer. It is the Infallible Full Wear Concealer, and under my eyes today I'm using the shade Latte 375. You can build this up, but it is quite a full coverage concealer, which I almost always prefer. I'm either like full coverage concealer or no concealer. For me, there pretty much is no in between, so I feel like this does a really good job. Of course, plays really nicely with the foundation as well. I like to put it in the center of my face to do a little bit of highlighting, the classic upside down triangle under the eyes, and I do like to let it set under my eyes like I do with any other concealer, just to help build up coverage. I find for me that has just changed the game ever since I started doing that a couple years back. But because we're talking about long wear, and I've mentioned this before, consider using a concealer when it comes to cream bronzing and contouring. I've gotten so into creams over the past few years, but not all of them are friendly to my skin type, or they just disappear or they break up, whatever it may be. So I really like this concealer for bronzing slash contouring. I say bronzing because it's like pretty warm tone. So this one is in the shade 420 Cocoa. However, keep in mind, because this is full coverage, it really sticks around, it's super long wearing, you need to work fast and in small sections. Do not put this all over your face and then go to blend it out. You are getting the benefit of it being super, super long wearing, so just work in sections. You can use a sponge, you can use a brush. I kind of used a combination of both today and build it up. It is super, super pigmented, because remember, this is a concealer, so we're kind of like hacking it and using it as a cream contour, but I really like this because it has so much pigmentation in there. It adds a lot of bronziness to the skin, but also it sticks around forever because it is a long wearing concealer. Just work quickly. For highlighter, as you know, I'm in the cream stick liquid game and it's new to me. I've been enjoying exploring new products. So this is the Infallible Longwear Shaping Stick, the highlighter, and it's in the shade Gold is Cold. Really beautiful. It has no glitter, no intense shimmer. So this is something that I feel like you could wear with or without makeup. And if you do have an oilier skin type, or if you tend to have products kind of melt off your face, I really, really encourage you to start trying out liquids, creams, sticks, because it acts as like another little base if your face tends to like eat makeup. I find that my makeup is more long wearing the more creams that I incorporate into my routine, or the more sticks, more liquids, but they just have to be the right ones. You don't want it to be anything too oily. So I put this right over the foundation. It doesn't move the foundation around, adds a really nice natural glow, and you could even put this on with your fingers. You could dab a brush onto it. I just drew it straight onto my face because it has a nice kind of creamy texture, and then blotted it out with my sponge that I use for my foundation, and it adds such a beautiful glow. Of course, we've got to set the face, and I used something a little bit newer to me under my eyes, but I really, really like it because it has a nice amount of pigmentation, and I've talked about this before as well, but be sure to use, or consider anyways, face powders as your under eye setting powder, as your bronzer, like you'll see me do it a little bit, but this is a classic. It is the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Powder. This one is in W3, so nude beige, obviously too light for me to use on my face, but the perfect shade for the under eyes. And again, similar to concealers, I'm very picky about my under eye powder because I find they can make things look gray or crepey or cakey, or just worse than if I hadn't put anything on my under eyes. So this is a really nice buildable powder that is finely milled, so it's not going to be too heavy on the under eyes, but I like having a little bit of pigmentation generally in my under eye powders, and this provides just enough. And then to set my face, this is a classic. It is the second or third one of this powder that I've had. It is the Infallible Pro Matte Powder. This one is in the shade 700 Classic Tan, and I mean, I feel like I don't need to say much about this. It's been around for a long time with good reason, and I feel like this does a good job, again, adding a little bit of pigmentation, a little bit of coverage, but not too much, but mostly it does a really great job kind of mattifying my skin, so that as the oils start to come throughout the day, this does a good job kind of keeping them at bay, in addition to the foundation, so they play nicely together. Moving up to the eyes, I used this palette here, which I really love because it has warm tones in there. It is the Paradise Enchanted palette. This came out about 1.5 years ago, and I really like it because of the matte browns in here. They can be a little bit tricky to find sometimes, like a good palette with a good selection of matte browns. So you're getting in here a nice like light brown, you're getting a medium one, and then a much deeper one. And that's generally, if I feel like a palette is missing something, that's kind of what I'm missing, because that's what I need to really complete my kind of typical eye look. So I used a combination of some of the browns. I had to reach for this corally shade, and I actually used my concealer, just a dab of it on my lid as my eyeshadow primer. I do that quite often if it's a concealer that has a good amount of coverage and good lasting power. I find that acts as a really, really great eyeshadow primer if you do have oily eyelids like myself. Really, really happy with the look that I came out of this. It has a great scent too. It's lightly scented, and it doesn't like smell once it's on your eyes, but while you're doing your eyeshadow, it smells really good. So now, moving into two products that I have not stopped talking about for the past like 3 months, 4 months. If you're sick of hearing me talk about it, I'm sorry, but just one more time, you need to pick it up for yourself. Yeah, so this is a classic. I've had this in my makeup collection for years and years and years, continue to repurchase it, continue to test it against high-end options, and continue to come back to this guy. It is the Voluminous Base Mascara Primer. Wow, so good, adds such a boost to your lashes. If you are like myself and you don't really tend to reach for false lashes, or you wear false lashes and you're trying to start wearing mascara but it's not doing enough for you, this is the stuff to get. It is just talked about it a million times. More recently, I've been combining it with this, and I love the two of them together. I do love this on its own, and I think I actually used this on its own in my review of the foundation, if you want to see that. But this is the Unlimited Mascara. It's gorgeous. It has a kind of harder bristle brush, but it's still super volumizing and lengthening at the same time. I don't find it to be clumpy. It does not transfer. It does not flake on my lashes, and of course I will check back with you at the end of the day and show you it in action. But together, these are just such a powerful force. So beautiful. Gives just everything that I want in a mascara combination, and I will probably continue to talk about it. But yeah, let me know if you've tried either of these. I know I've gotten a lot of people onto this primer, but this is a little bit newer, so definitely check those out. Moving back out to the rest of my face to bronze, as I mentioned, reaching for a face powder is such a good option if you can't find a bronzer that you like, or one that matches your skin tone, or you're looking for more variety. Face powders are gonna have tons of variety in terms of shades, and this one I really like. This one's actually neutral, so I brought a lot of warmth into my face with that kind of bronzy concealer. So I went with a neutral powder, but this of course comes in warm and cool depending on your skin tone, and a bunch of different shades. So this one is in Cappuccino, and I really love this because it's buildable. Some bronzers you put on and they just come on too strong, they don't look natural, and it can just be a little bit too hard to work with. But because this is a face powder, it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of pigmentation, because it's going to be a little bit lighter than some of those super pigmented bronzers that almost seem like eyeshadows, if you know what I'm talking about. So this makes it for a much more buildable application. Really, really love this, and I really like this shade. Although it is neutral, I don't find it to be too neutral that it can't act as a bronzer. Depending on your skin tone, you may be able to use this as more of like a pure contour as well, but really, really like this. And like I said, these powders are a little bit newer to me, but I can see why they've been around for so long. For my brows, I actually got my brows threaded today, and ever since I've been getting my brows threaded, honestly, I have not been doing much. I'm pretty much just a gel gal, so that's why I really enjoy this. It is the Brow Stylist Boost and Set Volumizing Brow Mascara. So it adds a little bit of color, but hold. I'm mostly looking for hold. I don't need a ton of color in my brows unless I'm doing a really intense look. I really don't feel like my brows need much, so I feel like this does a good job adding in just a smidge of color, but the hold is what I'm looking for the most. It's not crunchy. I like that it has a small brush, but it's not too small, because sometimes when brushes are too small, I have quite a bit of eyebrow hair, and it can actually get in there and really coat all the brow hairs and keep them where I want them to be. And also, it does not produce too much product when you pull it out. It's like just enough to get the brow in its kind of shape. And I haven't been doing a lot with my brows. I do love the micro brow pencil that they have, but recently I've just been kind of doing a little bit of a zhuzh to the brows and keeping it very, very simple. For blush, I couldn't choose, and I'm actually not wearing highlighter today because I use this blush. But let me get into this first, and I use the stick highlighter as well, which has a nice amount of glow. This is the True Match Super Blendable Blush Warm Tone, obviously, in Barely Blushing. This is so, so gorgeous. It's just one of those classic shades that I tend to reach for a lot, kind of like a rosy peachy shade, but I really, really like this. Has beautiful color, nice and long wearing, and does, like I said, this line comes with a bunch of different shades of blushes if you like cooler toned, warmer tones, more neutrals, tons of beautiful ones. But if you tend to like the blushes that I do, this is a good one if you've overlooked it in the past. And then for my blush slash highlight, I mentioned this in my favorite double duty blushes video. So blushes that I feel like act as a great blush and highlighter, which can be rare, because if it's too much blush, you can't put it too high on your cheekbones. If it's too much highlighter, it'll kind of highlight your pores and just be too much, in my opinion. So what I use today is the Paradise Enchanted blush, which is of course the companion to the eyeshadow palette that I'm wearing. This one is in the shade Fantastical, and I feel like it gives a beautiful amount of color but also glow. So if you're somebody who has a little bit of texture on your skin, or you're not particularly interested in adding an actual highlighter to your face, or you're just low on time or low maintenance, this is such a good option to kind of give you both the, I scared myself with that closing, to give you both glow for highlighter and of course a little bit of color for blush. You don't have to layer these up, but just sometimes I'm excessive. Lastly, for my lip, again, I was a little indecisive in what direction I wanted to go with it, so I just combined two lipsticks and called it a day instead. This I've really been liking. This formula is really nice. This line has really, really beautiful shades in it. It is the color Riche lipstick in Passionate Pink, and I've been trying to like wear some more mauvey pinks, although this is kind of like a corally mauve, but I've just been trying to incorporate some different shades of lipstick into my life because I tend to reach for a lot of the same shades. So this is a really beautiful kind of creamy formula, and then over it, this is one of my favorite lipsticks of all time. If you have my skin tone and you like kind of like creamy shades, this is beautiful because you don't need to wear a lip liner with it. It's just light enough, it's just nude enough. And this is the color Riche Shine in Glossy Fawn, and it's a super comfortable lipstick. I think actually in my review of the foundation I combined this with a pink shade, so it's really good for layering. It's really good on its own. Both are super comfortable lipsticks as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop chatting. As always, I think I talked way too much, but similar to a foundation review, I've never done this outside of a foundation review and done a check-in, but it's the best way to show you how you can take this foundation from morning to night if you have like a long day or whatever it may be. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead about my own day and I will check back with you in the evening to show you how it all looks. And now I am back. It is the end of the day. I actually just got in the door. It is one of the first actually nice days that we've had in Toronto in a little while. So I actually just met up with Nems. We spent a little time sitting in the park getting some sun. It was glorious. I was wearing a t-shirt. Like, I haven't worn a t-shirt outside in so long. And I kind of discovered this new hairstyle now that I don't know, I've never worn my hair with like a little bit out and the bun. But anyways, we are here to talk about the foundation, the L'Oreal Paris Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. If you watched my review, probably no surprise here, it held up beautifully, still looks super fresh as they call it, and I can absolutely get many more hours of wear out of it. It has not patched away. I do obviously have a little bit of oils coming through, but that is kind of the nature of the beast with oily skin. As I've mentioned before, what I'm looking for is, does the foundation move around? Does it change color or oxidize? Is it patchy? Does it feel heavy or greasy? And none of those are applicable here. I think you can see it still looks really good on the skin. I wouldn't even feel the need to powder. I actually like the look of a little bit of oiliness coming through. It's like youthful, it's dewy, it's not flat or super matte. I do, however, think that a lot of skin tones could, not sorry, skin tones, well, yes, skin tones, but a lot of skin types could enjoy this foundation too. Because it does have that natural matte finish, it's not going to be anything that is too drying or tight on the skin. And also for more oily skin people, you are getting that more natural finish that's not going to be too flat on the skin as well. So a really nice kind of balanced foundation. If you have a drier skin type, you could always leave off the powder. If you have an oilier skin type, you can add the powder. I never ever skip the powder besides a couple times by accident. Overall, as you know, I really do love this foundation. I feel like it has a great wear time on my skin, light and buildable. It doesn't feel heavy on the skin, which is really important to me, and doesn't look heavy on the skin. Something else that's important to note is I have not touched up my face. I did not use a primer or setting spray. I did reapply a little bit of lipstick before I came on camera, but I think you can see bronzer, blush, highlight, everything is still there, which a lot of the time that can kind of disappear off the skin, and that some of it has to do actually with using that concealer as a base for my bronzer, but the blush and highlight, and I mean, I wasn't even really, I wore the cream highlighter but no powder highlight. I was using that blush, so still a really beautiful glow on the skin. Really gorgeous foundation. Let me know if you have tried this. I know a lot of you had actually tried it before I even reviewed it, because you were telling me that I needed to review it because you knew I would love it, and you were right. So if you have yet to pick it up, I will of course have links down below if you'd like to see more about it. And of course, if you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!